Gingside.com. Gingside.com.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome to the lesson on arrays. Arrays are where we store large amounts of data. An array is an ordered collection of items or elements. If you need 2 or 3 variables, you don't need an array. But if you need 200 or 300 variables, yes, you very much need an array. I like to say arrays are for storing mass quantities of variables. You can access the array as a collection, as a whole, or you can access the individual elements. Think about a 6-pack of soda pop. If you want the whole collection, you can buy all 6. But if you want to peel off a can and take it up to the counter and buy just one of the collection, you can. And arrays allow us that same ability to access the entire collection as a group or access one individual item. Let's create an array. This is a declaration of the array, the money. In any video game that deals with money, you're going to have multiple players and they're going to have different bankrolls. So what we're going to do is for every player in the game, allocate this one array to keep track of how much money they have. When you see the square brackets, read that as an array. I'll read this line up here as double array the money. Read this as the array. Double array the money. And this here is called an initialization list. It'll initialize the positions in the array to these values. Beginners are most often confused that arrays start at index or subscript 0. The first number in this array, 2025, is at position or index 0. I know it seems strange to say the first item is at position 0, but that's exactly how arrays work. Now, where did the numbers come from? Well, this is called an initialization array. When you set it equal to something and in curly brace, you give it a list of items that you want to store in the array. First amongst this list of items is the number 20.25, and you can see it goes at position or index 0 of the array. The next item in this list, 19.0, goes in position 1 of the array. This is just like parameters. They line up one for one. The first number goes in position 0, the second number goes into position 1, the third item in the list goes at index or subscript 2. The number you see above the array, the 2, is what we call an index or a subscript. Sometimes I'll call it to the slot. This array is a collection of 5 doubles, and this 2 identifies which of the 5 numbers I'm accessing. The fourth item goes in position 3. The 82 is why an 82 appears in index or slot 3. And finally, the last item of a 5-item array goes in position 4. That may be the hardest part for beginners. Getting used to this first item is at position 0 of the array, and the last item of a 5-item array is in position 4 of the array. Get used to it. That's the way arrays work. Now that we've created this array and filled it with numbers, let's look at how we can use the numbers in the array. Let's say we want to access how much money the player at position 0 has. So I'll execute a line of code, player money equals the money index 0. Pull the value out of array index 0 and assign it to the variable player money. So array subscript 0 pulls out a 20.25 and transfers it to the variable player money. Player money is a separate variable outside the array. I pulled something out of the array and assigned it to that variable. And you can also put something into the array. Let's insert a value into array subscript 3. So let's take the contents of the variable player money, 20.25, and assign it to the money subscript 3. So the 20.25 that was stored in the variable player money gets transferred to array position 3. See that 3 right there? What number updated? Position 3 of the array. Let's access the array in a different manner here. Let's access the value stored in the money of index or subscript 4. So we're going to pull out the value 475 from subscript 4. We're going to add to that the hard-coded or constant value 5.50. Add those together, you get a 1025. What are we going to do with this 1025? If you look closely on the left side of this equation, we're going to assign the 1025 to subscript 4. So subscript 4 was overridden and changed to 1024. And this is just like a video game. Player at position 4 just got or acquired $5.50 more. Let's add it to their total and store it back into the array that keeps track of how much money each player has. Not complicated. It's pretty simple once you understand the array as sort of a multi-part variable. It's a variable. Instead of storing one value, I can store multiple values in it. It's pretty easy to follow arrays. Let's do it again. Let's access the array at slot or index 1. Pull the value at position 1 out. That is a 19.0. So the 19.0 gets pulled out of the array. I subtract from that a 12.25. If you do the math, this comes out to be 675. What are we going to do with the 675? We're going to assign it back to index or position 1 of the array. So I pulled the current player's value out, subtracted an amount, and stored the result back into their total. And that's all an array is. There's nothing complicated about it. When you want to store 2 or 3 variables, you don't need an array. But if you're developing an online video game with hundreds of players and you need to keep track of how much money each of those hundreds of players has, an array is a nice way to do it. I'd rather declare one array than try to declare 100 individual variables.
GameSci.com